Welcome back to the 21 Boom Guided Meditation. This is Coach Zach Feeney, and I'll be your guide for the evening. Imagine you are at the end of your life looking back. This vantage point helps us remember what matters most so that we can recognize the habits that separate us from each other. Take a few moments now to travel into the future and imagine yourself close to death. And as if you were looking back through the years, reflect on an important relationship. Was there openness, acceptance, and care? Or were you distanced by judgment, anger, and blame? If you were with this person right now, how might this end of life perspective guide you? Witnessing how resentment ensnares our heart moves us toward a path of forgiving in small and large ways. We most deeply want to be loving and free. There is a wisdom in us that knows that we need to release blame if we are to love each other and love our life. When we're in trance, we are easily triggered by situations and people that are associated, often consciously, with our original wounds. Awakening from trance begins with recognizing when we are inside it, when our thoughts and feelings are operating under the line, outside conscious awareness. While it's natural to be annoyed or hurt by certain behaviors directed toward us, the trance of blame produces a stronger, more painful, and more lasting response. Ask yourself these questions. How regularly am I triggered? When I'm blaming someone, does it take over my whole experience of them? And with these questions in mind, notice your reaction in situations when people criticize you, don't listen or seem interested when you're talking. Say they're too busy to see you, don't respond to emails or texts, let you down, don't help you enough or do their parts, don't show you appreciation, demand too much from you, disagree with you, have something you want like wealth, job, home, children, a partner, are always late. Bring to mind a recent conflict with a friend, partner, or family member. Now view this as a movie, including what triggered the conflict, and then freeze the frame at a high point of tension. In those moments when you are focused, what are you focused on? Is it a facial expression communicating anger or vengefulness, aversion or disrespect, words or a tone of voice conveying those emotions? Are you seeing them as a bad, unreal other? What happens when you consider the challenges they face? Might they be feeling hurt, stressed, anxious, deficient, upset with themselves? What happens when you remind yourself of the things you value about them? The ways they can be caring, helpful, creative, engaging. And now shift your attention to yourself. From the perspective of a witness, how do you imagine you look when you are caught in blame? How do you sound? How does your body feel? Your heart? Are you in the role of angry or hurt victim? Self-righteous judge? Threatening aggressor? Do you like yourself this way? Is this who you really are? What are you forgetting about your goodness, about what really matters to your heart? When we unconsciously perceive people as bad, unreal others, it's easy to hurt them. We no longer see them as the subjective feeling beings that we are. This unreal othering is also the tragic grounds for oppressing whole groups of people whom we deem inferior, dangerous, or hostile because of characterizations such as race or class, religion or political views, and sexual orientation or identity. Still less recognized are unreal othering and violence toward non-human species. The good news is that our evolving brains have the capacity for mindfulness and compassion. We can emerge from trance, we can see ourselves and others more clearly, and we can cultivate a forgiving heart. Please bring to mind someone toward whom you often feel anger and blame. Ask yourself, if I let go of judging this person as bad or wrong, what painful feeling would I have to feel? Maybe say out loud a word or phrase for what you feel, your fears and vulnerability about that lie beneath the armoring of blame. Do any of the following resonate with you? Powerlessness, out of control, afraid they would just go on hurting me. If they're not wrong, then I'm the one who's wrong. Hurts, I'd have to take responsibility. Accepting a painful loss. Grief, I'd have to accept that life isn't fair. Unlovable, unsafe. Forgiving is hard because we'll do almost anything to avoid the vulnerability inside us. It's also hard because we often fear that forgiving means excusing harmful behavior. You hurt me, but it's okay. I forgive you, so you don't need to take any responsibility. Because forgiving is so central to freeing our own hearts and healing our world, I'd like to name some other points that you might find confusing. Forgiving does not mean we should deny or suppress our anger or fear, hurts, or grief. Forgiving is not condoning harmful behavior, nor does it mean passivity or inaction. Forgiving does not have to be done on our own. Forgiving is rarely a one-shot or quick process. The 3 stages of forgiveness are intending to forgive, making the U-turn, and including a real other in our hearts. When caught in the trance of blame, ask yourself 3 questions that will help guide you through these 3 stages of awakening from blame. What is my deepest intention in this relationship? This reminds us of our longing for an awake, open hearts, or forgiving hearts. What am I unwilling to feel or running from inside me? This enables the U-turn, shifting our attention from the other person to the vulnerability. What is really true about this person? How might they be struggling? What matters most to them? This helps us remember the person's humanness, suffering, and goodness. As you've been listening, have you thought about a person you are pushing away with blame or resentment? Can you sense how the trance of blame keeps you small and rigid? How you are forgetting your own gold and theirs? You might call on your future self the wisest, most loving place in you, and imagine just for a moment what it would be like to have the heart space that includes this person. Can you sense the freedom that is possible? Now bring this person to mind and mentally whisper, "My intention is to forgive you." Can you feel the sincerity of your intention? Even if some parts of you are still unready, trust that with the mindfulness and compassion of rain, your hearts will become increasingly inclusive, forgiving, and free. Forgiving others has 2 essential phases. The first is an inner process of healing the woundedness beneath the blame, and the second is bringing a compassionate attention to the other person involved. So sit in a comfortable way, closing your eyes and coming into stillness. Take several full breaths, and with each exhale, release any tension you are aware of. And begin by reflecting on your intention to cultivate a forgiving heart that includes yourself and all beings. Scan your life and sense where you might be feeling unforgiving towards someone and caught in anger and or blame. Remind yourself of what happened or is happening to cause these feelings. You might ask yourself, what is the worst part of this? What about this most upsets me? What am I believing about this person? What am I believing about how they are relating to me? Recognize, mentally note whatever feelings and thoughts are predominant as you bring this person to mind. Pause and allow this experience to be here as it is without any judgment or effort to do anything. Now make the U turn, letting go of thoughts of the other person and bringing your full attention to what is happening inside you. Discover how your upset feelings and thoughts about the person express themselves as feelings in your body. Where are those feelings strongest? What are they like? Take your time to fully enter and feel the part of you that is most distressed. You might ask this hurting part the following: how do you want me to be with you? What do you most need? Is it acceptance, protection, understanding, forgiveness, compassion, love? All on your wisest, most loving self, your future self, your awakened heart. Imagine that you can listen and respond from your future self. How might you offer what is most needed? Is there a touch, like your hand on your heart, a message or an image that helps that wounded part receive what it needs? Take some moments to bring nurturing to this part and to sense how this part experiences the compassion that is offered. If it is difficult to access your own awakened heart, you can call on whatever source of loving feels most accessible: a friend or family member, a deity, your dog, to help nurture the inner part. Notice and rest in the sense of who you are when you are offering and receiving inner nurturing. Bring your attention to the other person. Since they were viewing that person from the awareness of your future self, witnessing him or her with your wisest, most compassionate heart. You might experiment and imagine that you are doing this reflection 10 to 15 years in the future. Mentally note whatever you observe about the other person. Pause and allow this experience of the person to be there just as it is. You might ask yourself this: what is the vulnerability, the fears, hurts, unmet needs that might drive this person to cause suffering? How does this person have a leg in a trap? Offer forgiveness through the following phrases, or through your own compassionate words and or visual images. Mentally whispering the person's name and saying, I see and feel the harm you have caused and I forgive you now. Or if you're not yet ready to forgive, I see and feel the harm you have caused and it is my intention to forgive you. If you do feel able to include this person in a forgiving heart, you might follow the forgiveness phrases with whatever caring wish resonates for the healing of this person's suffering. Notice the quality of heart space that has arisen, and let it be as large and inclusive as it is. You might inquire, who am I when resting in a forgiving heart? With forgiveness practices, it is common to judge ourselves for how well or fully we are able to do the meditation. Let go of any judgment you are carrying and honor the sincerity of your intention to open and free your heart. Release all ideas of self and other. Simply rest in the experience of tender awareness. If a thought or feeling arises, sense the capacity to include this entire living, dying world in the vast space of a forgiving heart.